Welcome to Inside Look. I'm Jeff Lyons with Arden Gregory, our meteorologist here at the station, one of our team. How you doing, Arden?
Oh, pretty well. Just back from maternity leave, so doing well.
That's right. We don't know exactly when these drop, so you may be celebrating the first or second birthday of your new one by the time it goes out. So you were joking this morning. You kind of unofficially become the newsroom mother right now,
yes,
right? What's that like? Is that a burden?
It's interesting. I'm in a slightly different stage of life than most of my coworkers. I am one of the few with very little children right now. So most everybody else is either a little bit older than me and their kids are older, or they're still in the sort of unattached phase of their life. And so it's different being the one of the only ones sort of in this phase, but it's also a very fun phase, and everybody's excited for me. So everybody's always asking about the kids, and it's nice to feel that kind of support.
Yeah, that's good. And you're a 10-year veteran now, the industry, right?
I graduated college in 2015. So I've been doing this for nearly 10 years now. So
and despite having young children running around home and doing this for 10 years, you're still happy.
It hasn't broken me yet. Yeah.
So when you started out, of course, you interned with us back in, what would that be, 2013 or 14?
Yeah.
Yes. And then we sent you off to the mountains to work first. What was that like? You worked in Hazard, Kentucky.
I did. It was an interesting place. Hazard's very, very small. So, little bitty town. But, being from Kentucky, it was just a different part of Kentucky. So I wasn't totally out of my element. Still a lot of UK fans and things of that nature. But it's definitely different. The weather is slightly different in the mountains. I had to deal with a lot of changes in elevation, situations where you could have, rain in the valleys, but snow on the peaks, that kind of situation. A lot of fog out there, even more so than what we get here. But it was a really good place to sort of get my feet wet and kind of get the hang of this whole TV biz and, test myself out on those poor folks who had to watch those first couple of years in Eastern Kentucky when I was not very good at my job just yet. But I did a lot of growing there in those first couple of years, and I was very blessed, very lucky that then as my time was coming to an end there, it was perfectly timed with when Eric Garlick was choosing to leave 14, and I just called you up and said, please don't let them hire somebody until I at least get an interview. Just give me a shot, and it worked out.
So you've tried both ends of Kentucky.
Yes.
And this end working well for you too.
Yeah. I haven't found an end to Kentucky I don't like yet. So.
Okay, and of course you're from Kentucky.
Yes. I grew up in Davis County, out in Philpott, if you know where that is, folks, and just outside of Owensboro. And so, the tornado that hit Owensboro in January of 2000 was actually what sort of sparked the weather bug in me initially, and then the 2009 ice storm that hit Kentucky so hard just sort of continued to develop that and led us to where we are today. So, Kentucky girl through and through here.
Didn't send you running into the hills.
No.
That's right. And so now, of course, you're still here in Kentucky and, doing the weather here on middays mainly, but also covering it, how we all do. It's
we got to bounce around to keep everything covered. Yeah,
that's right. What do you think is your favorite aspect of covering weather and communicating it to our friends out there?
I think it's feeling like I'm a part of everyone's day. Like, some days it's really serious and we're talking about trying to protect them and keep them safe in severe weather situations, and they're turning to us because they're concerned and they're scared oftentimes, and I'm glad we can provide them support in that. But then also the smaller things, just telling them about, what your weekend's going to be like. Is it going to be a good weekend to be outside? Is it going to rain all weekend and, be kind of a bummer? Could you have a snow day? All these different things. The weather impacts everybody. So just feeling like I'm a part of someone's day and helping them out in some small way, just making sure they know they're going to need a jacket today or something like that. It's not always the big, serious, severe stuff. Even the little things. I just like feeling like I'm helping them out in some small way. So that's my favorite part, is just connecting with the people at home.
And of course, you get out into the schools like all of us do quite a bit. And you really have a spot for young girls who are wanting to pursue science or meteorology in that case. Where does that come from?
Yeah, there's a big drop off, especially as you get into middle school, where girls who maybe used to be interested in science start feeling like it's not as cool. It's, more that's for guys, and they tend to drift away from that oftentimes. And so I really do my best to try to encourage them that, women can be scientists too. A lot of people don't realize how much math and science we have to go through to get the degrees that we have to do this job. But it is hard, but that's not a bad thing. Hard is good. And, you want something that's going to be challenging you. And as a woman who at times when I was in college, I could be in a class of 60 and be one of 2 girls at times, and we need women's voices represented in science as well. So I've got a real passion for encouraging those young girls to really stick with math and science and look for the things that challenge them, and don't be discouraged if you're the only girl in your class. Sometimes, at least there's one, so you should be an encouragement rather than disheartened by that.
Did you ever sense any envy from the guys when you would do better on a forecast, or you would do better on a test, or you would outperform one of them?
I think there were some of them that were a little surprised by that sometimes, but I'll tell you one thing. That one, benefit to being the only girl in the class, if I ever had a question about my homework, I had no trouble getting answers from anybody in there. So,
But you didn't wind up with a meteorologist,
no,
though,
I
when you got
didn't.
married.
No, I ended up with a physical therapist who was a biology major, so still in the sciences.
Okay.
But yes, meteorology is such a tight major. I think it's a little fraught to be dating within that. There's only a handful of us, you know what I mean? So, but I loved my college experience, and, I still have a lot of good friends. Most of them are guys because I was one of the only girls in the program, but, it was a good experience.
So when you started here, I was trying to think back, and of course, this place was built on a woman scientist, Marcia Yockey. She was a legit meteorologist,
Yes.
worked at the Weather Service, served here 35 years.
Yeah, talking about blazing the trail.
I know, but then after that, there weren't a lot of women who did the weather. In fact, since I've been here, we had Julie Broughton and Lisa Repke and Cammie Boyd were the 3 women that did weather here, and that was it, and not by any decision. Just so happened that's who was on when they were on. And at my first station, there had been a couple of women who had worked, but you go to these conferences and things, and it's a zillion guys. Although there are a lot more women involved, which is great.
Yeah,
I think
we're coming up in the ranks a little bit, but there was a time where the weather girls, as we were sometimes called, the female meteorologists were few and far between.
Yeah. You feel like you get more scrutiny on camera? Like do viewers often give you, like nobody cares what I wear. I've worn the same blue suit for 20 years. Nobody knows. But like you change one little thing and you hear about it, don't you?
Yes, there's definitely a lot more scrutiny about what we wear, how it fits, what colors we choose, how we do our makeup, if you get a haircut, all that kind of stuff. And on the one hand, it's definitely important that we look nice and presentable. People are inviting us into their homes through their television. You don't want them to be distracted by what you look like. My worst case scenario would be someone's not listening to my forecast because instead they're distracted by whatever dress I have on that day or something like that. So I always strive to just be professional but not distracting. And ultimately, I hope more than anything, people are at the end of the day listening to what I'm saying rather than looking at what I'm wearing. But especially as a woman in TV, we're always going to be scrutinized, and especially going through now 2 pregnancies on TV. That's a whole nother thing, is
right.
to
be really
slowly ballooning up in front of thousands of people was an interesting experience as well.
Yeah. And the interesting thing, some of the emails that come in commenting on all of us, they go to a community or a station email box, so everybody sees them. So you go through, and a lot of the comments, criticisms, what are from women to women.
Yes.
I'd never in my whole time ever had anybody say to me, wow, that tie is awful, or what happened to your hair? I mean, nobody cares. So I think that's an unfair burden that women have to bear in this business. But I mean, there's nothing I can do about it.
I know. I agree, but there's nothing we can do about it except send them straight to the trash box.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Delete.
That's why there's a delete key on computers. So you and I got skunked on the snow forecast for this season. We both thought we would have a piddly winter because of La Nina, and maybe a couple inches of snow. Now either Michael or Byron will reign superior on forecasting a snowy winter. Where do we go wrong? What happened?
I thought it would be an active winter, but I thought it would be more stormy. I thought we would have more rain than snow, but we've had not even just one big storm. We've had multiple snowstorms this winter, and some of them have been pretty good size. So, I don't know where we went wrong. But, anytime we're forecasting months out instead of days, that's, break out the dartboard.
It wasn't even a forecast. It was just a guess. And
right.
we labeled it as such.
Yes,
we didn't try to put it out there as the Farmer's Almanac or something. Do you read the Farmer's Almanac?
No, I don't think it's worth
I've looked at it before.
I mean, there is nuggets of truth in some of these old sayings and whatnot, right. but I don't really take too much into that. Yeah,
but that's a question we often will get. Like if you're talking to a group, they'll say, "Well, the Farmer's Almanac said X, Y, Z," and then you have to politely kind of say, "Well, that's great, but." And so you don't believe in the Farmer's Almanac. It's like not believing in the fairy tales or something like that. So it's funny, especially in this part of the country. A lot of the wives' tales or folklore seems to be just the staple, and then the Farmer's Almanac is usually right behind it.
Yeah, the woolly worms and the persimmons and whatever else. People live and die by forecasting their winters by these things.
Well, and in Kentucky we had Dick Freimeyer. He was the tree guy, right?
Yeah,
Didn't he look at trees or talk to them and figure out what the weather was going to do? So 10 years in. And, you're just getting your stride. Now, you're a runner, so where are you in the marathon, do you think?
I don't know. I feel like I'm holding up pretty well so far, and, I hope we can just keep on going. I really enjoy what I do. I don't have plans to stop anytime soon, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, so we'll see. But so far, I'm really enjoying this phase of life that I'm in. We recently hired Michael Fecca, which has freed all of us up to really be able to grow in what we're doing in the weather department, which has been a huge blessing. And he's been a great addition to the team. And we love where we live. I live in Henderson, and we absolutely adore it there. And so, I'm really happy with where I'm at in my life and my career right now. And I hope it's continues to be smooth sailing.
Yeah, and you're close, very close, both literally and physically with your family. I know you live across the street from your sister. And
yes,
she has
I do.
Kids, so your kids
yeah,
have
our kids
cousins.
are kind of growing up together. We do live across the street from each other, and then my mom watches all the kids, and so very close to my family there, and that's another huge blessing and another huge draw of why I wanted to come back to the tri-state to work in the first place.
They didn't all want to move to Eastern Kentucky.
No, rather than moving all of them to Hazard, we thought it'd be easier if I come here.
Just come on back home to the tri-state. Well, we're glad you did. You got any other tidbits of wisdom, maybe for people that are watching here and learning a little bit more about Arden Gregory, something they didn't know that they might be surprised?
Oh, something they didn't know. Well, one question I will say I always get when I say I'm from Davis County, people say, "Oh, what school did you go to?" Well, believe it or not, I was homeschooled, and that's something a lot of people don't know about me, is I was actually homeschooled. So I didn't, even if you went to Davis County, I didn't go to school with any of you. So, but my mother did an excellent job in our education, and I credit her for a lot of what got me here today.
It paid off for you and everybody else. And I wanted to throw in one thing. You were it was a fundraising event in Owensboro. I think you were 6 months along.
Dancing with Our Stars.
Dancing with Our Stars. And you and Grant ripped it up. And everybody was gasping, because you were obviously pregnant, and
Yeah.
not to mention
Visibly pregnant at that
probably
point. Yeah.
tired, and probably not thinking,
Yeah.
gee, I want to go dance in front of 1,000 people, but you did. What was that like, prepping for that thing? Because each week, I suppose, gets a little harder,
Yeah.
right?
When I committed to it, I was like newly pregnant, and I thought, oh yeah, what fun. And by the time it came around, I thought, oh, what have I gotten myself into? Part of the trouble was Shaylee Clark, who used to work here,
Sure.
was one of the people who helps organize that. Her and Dan Katz MC
Can't
it.
say no to
And
Shaylee.
I can't say no to Shaylee. She's too sweet, and she asked, and I couldn't say no, and so we committed to it. And yeah, we definitely shocked some people with our dance. I remember my mother-in-law saying, "Oh, something about, well, at least there's no lifts or anything, right?"
Oh,
and
there were
And my
lifts.
husband was just like, and she was like, "Right, well." We talked to the doctor first. It should be fine. And she was like, there's no way you're picking that woman up. And we did. Like I said, we knew what we were doing. We had clearance and we were safe. Yeah, he lifted me all the way up on his shoulder, 6 months pregnant. So that's a credit to him as much as it is to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a lot of fun doing it. And it was for a good cause.
Yeah, it showed. And of course, the best part, and the thing we always joke about, is then when the judges, afterward, and Byron was
a judge.
That's
yes.
right. So, no bias there at all whatsoever. But another judge said something about what a wonderful job you had done. But then he dinged it by saying, in your state.
Yes,
Do you remember that?
in your state. Yeah, might as well have said, bless your heart.
Bless your heart. But you were a crowd pleaser, crowd favorite out there. So, you just never know what Byron and Shaylee will get you into.
Oh, yeah. Anytime they're asking a favor, be on guard. You never know what it's going to be, and they're hard to say no to.
But you got a marker on them now, so you can call one in
exactly,
at any point.
Exactly. Keep that in your back pocket.
All right. Well, Arden, thanks so much for spending a little time here on Inside Look. We're so glad to have you back here and doing the weather and everything else. You can watch Inside Look on the 14 News YouTube channel, so you can subscribe to that, or you can listen to Inside Look wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching and listening. I'm Jeff Lyons.